Dear student, let's now try to see something relating to job analysis. And you know pretty well that job is an important factor that plays a vital role in our life. Without job, well, we cannot do anything, and therefore we must understand the significance of job, and we have to know all those things that are related to the job. Now, job plays an important factor, I said, and it determines our standard of living, and it also determines our place of residence, and it also determines our status, our self-worth, and various other things. And it is important to an organization also. It is not static, it is changeable. Often jobs are changed, and we'll try to see what things are related to this job analysis. We'll try to take into account the various terminologies relating to this particular concept called job analysis. And the first and foremost item is, that is what the meaning of various technical terms. The first one is task. What do we mean by task? And it is an identifiable work activity executed for a particular purpose. I will take an example. Let's say a typist is working in an organization. And what is the task of the typist? Well, the first and foremost task, and I must say that the task concerned with the typist is typing a letter, most importantly. And the second one is duty. And this refers to several tasks related to some sequence of events. For example, let's say a sequence of events that happens in a postal department, that is collecting letters, separating it, sort out, and then deliver. Well, these are activities that are connected one with the other, and this is about duty. The next one is position. It is a collection of tasks and duties performed by one individual. For example, let's take a PA working in an office. He is the personal assistant of a manager or a regional manager. And what are his tasks, or what are her tasks? Well, the tasks are, well, receiving visitors, well, typing letters, taking notes, and various other activities. So it is a combination of all these activities being performed by a particular individual. And the next one is job. And this is jobs that refers to group of positions similar to or similar in significant duties. For example, technical assistants, company programmers, and various other activities. And the fourth one is job code. Job code is assigning numbers or sometimes letters or sometimes even numbers and letters together. In order to identify a particular job, a number is assigned, a letter is assigned, and sometimes letter and numbers are assigned together. This is the one. And the next one is job classification. This is the fifth one. That is the grouping of jobs on the basis of some things, that is the nature of job, work done by people, and for that matter the level of pay. So on this basis jobs are classified. For example, we'll try to take up different classification of job, say skilled worker, semi-skilled worker, unskilled worker. Or let's take the cases in banks. We have grade 1 officer, grade 2 officer, grade 3 officer. Well, it goes like this, and this is how jobs are classified. And remember that these are classified in terms of pay, position, and various nature and various other things. And so far we have seen some of the terminologies related to job. Now let's try to define what exactly job analysis is. Well, this one refers to job analysis is the process of gathering information. It is a process of collecting information about a job. And what type of information do we collect in order to analyze a particular job? Well, that we'll see it later on. This is one of the definitions. And let's try to see some other definition, that is, it is the process of collecting information relating to operations and responsibilities of a job. There are 2 points to be remembered. One is the responsibility and the other one is operations. And the one who comes for carrying out or executing a job must know the ABC of that particular job. And he must be a responsible person. And we have to collect all those informations that are related to the individual. For example, the skill that he has acquired, the kind of training he has got, and the ability with which a particular task is being carried out by the individual. Well, everything that we take into account. And another definition reads that it is a formal and detailed examination of a job. So these are some of the definitions that come in job analysis. Now let's try to see some of the steps involved in job analysis. Well, what steps are involved? Now the first one is organizational analysis. Now here in organizational analysis, we obtain all those informations relating to the organization. That is, we have to portray the complete picture of an organization. So for which, so that is, we have to find a linkage between the objectives of the organization and the job. So there is always a relationship between objectives and the nature of job. So, and the employees must contribute something to the organization so that objectives of the organization can be obtained or reached. And so these are the 2 important things. So this information, remember that we are going to collect information relating to the different activities of a particular job. These informations can be obtained through what you call this organizational charts or workflow charts. These are some of these charts through which we just come to know the various informations. And the second one is selection of representative jobs can be analyzed. Selection of representative position. So this is the point. And here we have to consider only the selected aspects of a job. And it is not possible to analyze all the jobs. We try to take into account only the selected jobs. And it is impossible for us to analyze the whole universe. We try to take into account only the sample, and thereby we try to conclude something. And so also here we have to consider only a few jobs, and we try to analyze what do these jobs say like. And the third one is information gathering. And this is an important factor. This is what the definition reads also. And this involves a few steps. Well, our prime objective is to collect information. And who should collect data? Number 1. Number 2 is what are the data to be required or to be collected. And the third question is what methods ought to be employed or what methods ought to be followed while collecting the data. So these are the questions, 3 questions to be answered. So relating to the first one, that is who are responsible or who are involved in collecting data relating to the job. Now there are people who are called job analysts. These people, well, they try to collect information relating to job. And sometimes we say that managers are also involved in gathering information. And some other cases, well, there are job incumbents. Well, these people can also be involved in collecting information. Well, this is how this first question is answered. And the second question comes, what are the data? What type of data do we require? And this is a series, there are series of steps to be followed. And the first one is all details relating to the job ought to be collected. This is a general concept. When we ask a question, what type of data that we require, our answer is all those information relating to the job must be collected, must be gathered. Now this one includes work activities. When we refer to work activities, it is concerned with a description of all work activities. That is how a task is carried out, why is a task performed, and what activities are to be carried out. So these are the questions that come in work activities. And the second one is comparison with various other jobs. Well, particular job is to be compared with the status of various other jobs, and this is what the point is. And the next one is what procedure, or we have to take into account all the procedures that are required in order to gather information. And we have to take into account the behavioral behaviors that are required on a job, that is desirable behavior that we require on a job. And the last one is physical movements and demands of the job. Now transferring, promoting, and all these things come here like. So these are some of these things that come in description. And the next one is job context. That is, job context refers to the physical conditions, that is the heat that you get when you are working in an organization, the noise that you get, the dust that you get, organizational context, social conduct, work schedule, and the kind of incentives, positive and negative incentives in terms of your performance. So these are some of the things that come in physical working condition. And the next point is concerned with personal requirements. When we say personal requirements, this refers to an individual's qualities. What qualities do employees have? For example, an employee who occupies a particular position should have skill to execute a particular task. So skill is an important thing. And educational qualification. This is also important because he must understand, for example, if he is concerned with processing information, unless he is qualified, well, he cannot process information, and therefore this is very important. And experience is also an important factor. The more experienced an employee is, greater will be the acquaintance, greater will be the familiarity, so that he will be able to do the task with excellent performance. And another important quality is physical characteristics. And if he is physically strong, and it is quite natural that he will be able to perform the task in a better manner. So these are some of the skills individuals require in order to do a task with unrelenting perfection. And let's come to the third question. What methods do we employ in order to gather information? And we have plenty of methods available. And the first method is observation. What is that we call observation? No, the information that we obtain through our sense organs are combined with the concentration of mind. A lot of things that we perceive. When a person comes to know that he is being observed, naturally his behavior will not be that spontaneous. Well, his behavior is rather inhibited one, and therefore individuals' performance, individuals ought to be analyzed without the knowledge of themselves. This is one. Observation. Well, there are different occasions where we can observe the performance of employees. So this is one of the methods. The second one is interview method. An interview is a meaningful conversation between employee and the employer in order to solve certain things, in order to do the task with more perfection like. So this is what interview is. During the process of interview, when people put their heads together, they talk each other, they try to exchange their problems, they try to exchange their difficulties, or they try to understand the abilities, capabilities of individuals, and then they decide. And this is what we call interview. And the next one is questionnaire or we say that information can be obtained by means of standardized psychological measures. When we just say standardized psychological measures, well, we have to see that the test or standardized measures should have these two qualities, namely reliability and validity. Unless a scale is reliable and valid, unless the psychological tool is reliable and valid, well, we cannot find out, we cannot exactly gather information that we wanted to gather. So this is very, very important. So find out whether the psychological tool that you select for gathering information are found to be reliable and valid. If that is not reliable and valid, find out, go for revalidation procedures so that information can be collected as systematically as possible. And apart from this one, you can also find out that some other measures, that is using diary method, case histories, and there are various other methods in order to gather information. And this is about the task. So far we have answered the three questions that we have stated initially. That is, who will collect data, what are the types of data that we require, and what method do we employ. These questions are answered. Now let's pass on to the next one, that is preparation of job description. Now this explains description of explains job content, what things are involved, that is about the items. This can be stated that a job can be described in terms of its functions, duties, responsibilities, and operations. So this is how we have to describe a particular job. And we have to describe a job in terms of its order. For example, a person who is going to be employed in an organization must be assigned some responsibility, must be assigned some duties. Well, accordingly, duties hierarchy is to be maintained like. And the next one is preparation of job specification. That is written statements of personal attributes like skill, training, experiences needed, and various other things relating to this one ought to be gathered like. And the next point is the extent of employees' involvement. And we have two categories of people, people who are more involved and people who are less involved. What would happen, in case people are more involved, well, they will be able to perform a task in a better way. I must say that people will be able to perform their duties, their tasks with unrelenting perfection. This is one of the first main qualities. And those who are not involved, less motivated, less skills, well, they cannot perform well, and therefore the organizational status or the objectives of the organization cannot be attained like. And the last one is how and when often conducted job analysis. In case, let's say that supposing a person who is newly joined, or we say that the organization is newly started. In that context, we have to start this one. So when a new incumbent or new entrant or new employee gets employment in an organization, well, we can just take up this one. Now when we just introduce new job, well, we just take up this one. And when technology changes, for example, knowledge of computer and knowledge of various other advancements must be known to employees, and in that context job analysis can be carried out. And while introducing new recommendations, well, job analysis can be carried out. Well, these are various circumstances under which job analysis can be carried out. And the next point is uses of job analysis. There are a lot of uses, and besides taking into account the individual's skill, individual's aptitude, and various other performances, we must also look into their abilities, their personality characters, and various other things that we have seen. Now, always there is a rapport between employee and the employer, that is the organization and its members. And why this is carried out, why this job analysis is carried out, and the first one is, in order to carry out the activities in a smooth and a peaceful manner, well, we just maintain this one. And the first use is, this is helpful for human resource planning. And supposing the organization envisages that a lot of opportunities are about to come, well, accordingly, organization frames a few things. Now I tell you, they formulate new procedures in order to include members, new employees. So in that circumstances, job analysis can be carried out. And recruitment, well, when and how employees are had or can be selected for a particular job. So during this job analysis will help us when and how employees are to be obtained. And when we analyze this job, we'll just come to know the skills required, experience required, and various other qualities required. And the third one is selection. Job analysis is useful for the selection procedures, that is, selecting the right person to the right job. This is another point. The next one is placement and orientation. So once a new employee is selected, he has to place someone, some position. Now, in case the organization finds that he requires some more training, well, he can be oriented like. And the next one is training. And employees who are recruited in a position or in an office, they will be given training then and then. As and when they require training, they will be given. And the next one is counseling. And it is very important to maintain rapport. There is always relationship between employee and the employer. In case there is a rift between, there is a misunderstanding, in case there is misunderstanding between the employee and the employer, who will come forward? Who will come forward to iron out all the differences? In case there is a friction between employees and employer, who will come forward to add lubricant? In case there is a wider gulf appears between employees and the employer, who will come forward to bridge the gulf? And therefore, it is always advisable to make a smooth relationship between employer and employee. And the next one, talking about this counseling, well, and management is one which is concerned with the problems. As and when problem arises, they have to take measures to solve problems. They have to identify what exactly the problem. They have to identify the content of the problem. Supposing we say that someone comes and reports that, well, I find it difficult to get along with my fellow man. What measures does the organization take? Well, unless the organization comes to know that this is the content, this is the nucleus of the problem, well, problem remains a problem once and for all. And employee safety is an important factor. Once this one will help us. Job analysis will come to know employees' safety. What safety measures to be taken up? This is one. Next one is job design and redesign. In case a weak spot is identified, organization will take remedial measures in order to keep it smooth like. And finally, personal information. An organization one which has to collect as many information as possible, something like keeping records in order to get a complete picture of the individual. And so far we have talked about all the things relating to job analysis. Thank you.